That's a really good question because particularly as a speaker, and I don't so much have to do that anymore because I speak these days when I feel like speaking, and I don't accept all speaking engagements anymore. Once I used to, as a speaker friend of mine used to say, he'd get up in the night, go to the fridge, and when the fridge door opened and the light came on, he'd do 20 minutes, speaking. But I don't need to do that anymore. And it was the toughest of things to do when you're living a personal life and you're having personal crises and you're having problems in your life, to go on the platform and be happy and spontaneous. And I became very, very practiced at it. And so much so, I used to get feedback from people that would work with me who knew what, some of the challenges, the normal sort of things that we're having, the house is burning down or the dog's run away or something like that is happening. And there's drama and there's serious stuff happening. When you got to be on, you got to be on. You got to go on the platform at that time and present. And I used to have a cue, which there's actually a movie about it a little while back called Showtime, and that was actually my trigger word. Was I would literally pull myself together backstage as I was being introduced, and I would listen to the introduction and Showtime. And it was an act, it really was, but it was also mind control of my own mind, not others, to walk on the platform there and act as if. So act as if I'm enthusiastic, act as if I'm happy. And because I was so well practiced, I knew exactly what I was going to say, I could turn on and do it and be spontaneous, happy, laughing, jokes, the whole thing. And that is a part of presenting. And actors know this, and television presenters know this, because they have bad days. And they've still got to go on. The newsreader has got to go on every night and read. He can't record it or change his mind. And people who do the Tonight shows and that sort of thing, they're on, they have to do it. And I'd present, and then I'd come off stage, and my staff again, what's going on? You were happy a second ago, now you're falling apart again. What's going on? Well, this is the real state. This is how I really feel. Out there was what I had to do. So what's the lesson in this for people who aren't speakers? I think that we can control our state, because that's all we're really talking about here is state control, the state of our mind. And we can be, we have to be resourceful under some circumstances. Control our state of mind to be resourceful, because to be in an unresourceful state at a time when you have to be resourceful helps nobody. I wander out on stage and show my real feelings and waste people's time. That's not why they came. That's not why they paid to come. You've got to deliver the value there. Similarly, for example, I'm a private pilot, and all pilots would know this, that you have to absolutely control your state in an emergency situation. You can't let your real feelings come out. You can't lose it all and just go to pieces. You have to be really, really calm and hold state and be very focused and very resourceful if you're going to solve the problem. And as a pilot, I've had 2 engine failures on takeoff. They're kind of challenging. What do you do? But what you do is what you've trained to do. And I guess that's the same thing on the platform. I've trained to do certain things, and so you have an automatic response. So look, you can control your mind. Again, like I said before, we get a choice. We can either be a victim or we can take charge and do the very best that we can possibly do under the circumstances. And from my point of view, and I teach this in business, that when you're negotiating or when you're in selling, that if you practice the techniques, then you know what to do. when the circumstances are not the way you want them to be. And the same thing with flying. You practice constantly handling emergency procedures. Engine failure on takeoff, where do you go? You practice this. You got crosswind on landing, what do? You have flaps that won't come down, undercarriage won't come down. You may never ever have to cope with this, but you know what to do because you've been trained to do it. Now, the same thing in business. You can be trained and train yourself and study and learn in business. How do you cope with every negotiating situation? Because there's no new negotiating situations, and we're all involved in negotiating every day, by the way, in relationships, everything. And I teach salespeople, what do you do when a customer has an objection? What do you do when a customer has a complaint? How do you cope with that? You shouldn't have to make that stuff up. It's something that you can learn, because all skills are learnable, and something if you practice, you can become very good at. So what's this got to do? How could this be useful to people who aren't involved in business, sales, negotiating, that sort of thing? Well, how about relationships? Relationships are kind of important. Could you study how to have better relationships? Could you study to have better communication skills, better relationship skills? Could you study how to control your state of mind when challenged in a relationship situation? Is it worthwhile learning how to be resourceful when you're having trouble in a relationship, like your primary relationship, or relationship with your children, teenage children, and those sort of things? It makes no sense to lose control, state control, to remain resourceful and to be the best you can possibly be under that relationship circumstance. That's the best thing you can do for the people that you care about, is to become good at that. And I've got a lot to learn, but I'm much better at this kind of stuff now than I used to be, because, as I say, all skills are learnable. There's this wonderful resource these days called the internet. Some of you may have heard about this. But, YouTube, I get challenged all the time, and the answer's on YouTube. It really is. I type in, teleprompter freezing, and the brand name, and the answer's there. And you read. And I had a problem with a teleprompter the other night at 1 o'clock in the morning, and no one to talk to. And Mr. Google and YouTube told me how to fix that problem. So just almost anything you can learn. It's all there for you. So all skills are learnable. There should be no excuse these days for not knowing how to do something. So that would be my thought. Look, worry is a funny thing, and stress is kind of a funny thing. And everything, it depends on your perspective. It depends, I think, as